Alright guys, just see if it is streaming before I get into it too much, otherwise I'll sit and talk to myself for about an hour. Just see if it is streaming. Okay, sorry for that, you'll get a little bit of feedback. So it's just a bit of an update from Spain. Obviously I've been back for about 2 weeks, getting some flack for actually travelling. Look, all I can say to people out there is I'm not travelling as a tourist. There's 4 main criteria for travelling to Spain, and I actually fit 3 of them, and that's all I'll say on it. But my personal view is I couldn't care less who travels. I'm not bitter or want to box people in. I don't suffer with crab mentality of dragging everybody down. My view is if you're happy to travel and it's safe to travel, go ahead. I don't care where you're going or what you're doing. My list of travel is a bit better than Boris's, by the way. So you can go to Australia, but you're not allowed in. Go to New Zealand, you're not allowed in. Portugal are now putting a blocker on it thanks to the COVID coming out of India. But I just find it completely bizarre. I just find the incompetence of the UK government a difficult pill to swallow, because I try to keep it positive, but the point being is I am not the reason that you have a problem travelling. It's not me that makes these decisions. But yes, I did have to go back to Spain. My family are here. I've got legal reasons to be here. Not just legally allowed to travel, but there's legal documents and stuff that I have to sign and be involved with. So it's not as cut and dry as, oh, you're there as a tourist. No, I'm not a tourist. I've been a tourist for a long time. Linda Churchman, hi. Hi, how's it going? So I've got a few questions and I've got a few things to show you as well. Because one of the key things that is coming up is once the house purchase goes through, and I've got my fingers crossed at the moment because I think this is house 3 or 4, because there's been problems with every single one as we've gone through, and this one is pretty much there. As long as the bank give me the check on Monday, give it to the real estate agent, we're pretty much into the next stage, which will be renovations. It'll be enhancing the house. It's a house that's probably, I think it was built 88 or something. It's a 80s house anyway, 80s premises. Does need a lot of renovation. Bought a jet wash already, bought a hose pipe as well, because the first thing I want to do is jet wash the exterior just to see the general condition externally, because it does get sandblasted off the beach. So I want to just give it a clean up and see how it looks externally and work from that backwards. But I brought a few things, just a couple of things today. There's going to be tons of stuff to share. These little guys are from Leroy Merlin. They're actually just rechargeable lights. You get 2 in a box for just under €10. I think it's $9.95 or something. Let me get one out of the box if it will let me. Somebody squeezed these into the box. Not saying it was April, but it was April. So basically they've got 2 screw mounts on the back, so you can mount them on to a wall, because these will be going external for me, so they will go on the mounts. But you can get, there is some sticky pads as well, so if you want to stick it to your interior wall and not bother drilling it, you can do. So the other thing with this is, I'll just do a quick, because I just want to show that these are quite bright. So if I switch it on off button on the back, just cover it. And these ones are for sort of knee height, and these will be going around the exterior of the property. I don't think they're bad for €9, and because these are so simple, even if the batteries are crap in there, I can change it and put a new one in at a later date. So these are only, like I said, €10. Get 2 of these, and they look quite well built, to be fair. Be able to tell in a year's time, once the sea air's got to it, how much of it's left of the case. But for €10, we'll see. Skill, can I ask a personal question? I have a mixed race children, thinking of moving to Spain. Have you or your kid's wife had any negative or racist things towards them? To be perfectly honest, no. I think there's more frustration relating to people not speaking Spanish than anything else, and that's just general anyway. I find speaking with my poor Spanish, I get a much better reception and communication with the local guardia, local authorities in any form. But general racism, no. But I do hear people sometimes mention it on some of the suburbs, etc. But I'm not sure what antagonises that in the first place. A lot of the time it's people actually arguing with each other in the first place or disliking each other. Like anywhere in the world, you will always have the racist. Doesn't matter where it is, doesn't matter what it's about, because even when you confront them and ask them what their racism is, it's often something that's been passed down to them, where there's a dislike for others but no real substance of what the root cause is. So I wouldn't say it's something to worry about it too much. You will get the kids doing their thing, but I mean in the school my kids go to, there's at least 30 languages spoken. You've got people from everywhere, and everyone seems to get on fine, so I wouldn't say it's something to really worry about at all. Now I'm talking from on the coast. Going into the cities may be slightly different. It's a bit like going into London. You know, parts of London don't like other parts. Birmingham's the same. You'll get different areas that absolutely hate each other, but that's part of a city build-up where there's poor integration. It's not an easy solution to get people to work together. I know myself in Northampton, I've got pretty zero issues around racism, but I do have issues around people's inability to use a bit of common sense, like walk on the left, don't stand in a doorway. But you do find it is often certain people from certain parts of the world that do it all day long. But for me, I just go over my head, not really bothered. It's just like, can you move out of the way, and then just move on. Joe's Eaton. Hi Matt and Ape on the kids. Looking forward to moving into your new home. When is your move? Would love for you to do a tour when you are settled. There's going to be a fair bit on the house, to be fair. We're waiting for the final document signatures. Until we do that, I don't really want to share anything. I don't really want to get into great detail because we've already been let down multiple times for multiple reasons. From people not actually owning the property to, I think the last one was there was so much debt on the property because it was done by a developer, and it is being taken by the banks, so they were trying to sell it cheap to try and do it quickly before the bank took it. So they were trying to sell it for like 140, say, but the debt on it was 210,000. So the bank's like, nah, that's ours. So once everything's gone through, I'll be sharing. It will possibly be next week. Are we excited to move? Of course we are. We love it where we are now, but one of the things that we are starting to notice is, for example, we have a small balcony here. The new house has got a balcony terraced on the first floor because we have the ground floor, because it depends where you are in the world. First is often the ground, but it's the first floor, the middle one. There's a balcony, sort of sea view side. Then there's another balcony, which is more like a terrace. Then below that, we've got the same again. So you've got the equivalent of 4 outdoor spaces, which is a bit I'm really looking forward to. Because for me, I like being outdoors. I really do. And this is one of the things I do love about La Mata. You can go out for a walk here, there, and everywhere. But when I'm working, how fantastic would it be to actually be sitting out on my own balcony, having a cup of coffee, listen to the birds in the background, listening to the waves of the sea, and sitting there just enjoying the sun, the environment we're in. And instead of working at my desk or something indoors, I'm actually outdoors in a perfect environment. So yeah, there'll be stuff coming up on that very soon, and I'll be happy to share it. Stephen Birth, afternoon sir, hope you're having a good day buddy. I'm just calming down in Aldi car park from dealing with the average wish. Nice to catch you live. Yeah, I've got to admit I'm a very much a fan of stealth shopping. I try to go when I know nobody's there. When there was the lockdowns down, there was a bookshop that I used to go into every Sunday. You thought, oh, you can't do that. You need books for sanity, I tell you. When you can't get out and do stuff, I really need my books to keep me going. Either it's buying for myself or shopping for April and the kids. It's something to actually do and achieve. So really a big fan of being able to do that. And I can understand where people are going to struggle with mental health issues, especially if the UK goes into yet another lockdown. Must be getting close to rioting. Tobacco stacker, do the hard work for world socialism. Who will clean the swears in the utopian world socialism? The currency is dead as a doornail, the ship's going down. It's a bizarre world. It really is, because I deal with finances from I do projected modelling and pricing for buildings over a life cycle, which can be up to 25-30 years, working out the cost for everything over that period of time, from every window to a light switch to distribution boards to the underground sewers, literally everything. And you can do that by predictive planning based on understanding inflation, understanding the changes in supplies, technology, etc., etc. It's very hard to put a real understanding on what the governments are doing right now, because it seems to be stamping down on the economy everywhere. At the same time, doesn't seem to have a clear route out. You look at the we're coming out of lockdown thing that Boris was pushing in the UK, and now it's starting to be retracted already because of the issues in India. Now, I've had a bit of a confusion on this, in the sense of, from the people I've spoken to from India, because when I was out in MENA, Middle East and North Africa, a lot of the staff we have out there are from India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and other parts of the world which aren't on the Western radar. They're saying it's as bad as it was last year. So has the cameras just moved? But I'm trying to avoid getting into that, because there's nothing I can do to fix it. All I can say is, guys, we just keep plodding on and see where everything leads, because we don't have any control of this situation. I think that's the biggest frustration. We don't, and the people that are deemed leaders seem to be just plodding along. It just doesn't seem to be on a straight path to anything. So, but anyway, I'm trying to sidestep that. Let's keep it on Spain. Yeah, Minky Flicker took a gamble, booked some flights for August, staying in Quesada, start the property search, hoping Boris plays nicely. I think we may be in luck with Spain, to be fair. Yeah, Bogdan, Portugal v Spain. I've been planning to move to Spain, but apparently only Portugal is open. I would double check that, because I believe that's been retracted at the minute, because I don't think Portugal's letting anybody in. There's some issues around this Indian COVID. It's a difficult one to actually see where we're heading with that. So all I can say is plan for the future, not current, because currently it's very, very difficult to see what they're doing. I've already had to change my flight from my return flight to the UK. That's already been cancelled by Ryanair. Stuart Crawford, sounds nice. We're up in Lina Pinoso. Views for miles, the good life in the country with the chickens to keep as well. Yeah, that sounds perfect. I mean, I've got to admit, I do like views. I do like being out there. When I was out in the Philippines, in the morning, you used to hear the roosters, and I love the rain hitting the metal roofs and stuff like that. And you're just going out there. I used to go down to my wife's aunt's store and sit under the there's like metal sheet roof, and you could see off to the sea as the lightning was just hitting off the sea. It was used to love all that stuff, and I still do. That's my sort of thing. Love it. Skill: careful use metal lights outside. I put stainless steel lights outdoors and left the property for 1 year. Came back and they fell apart from the salt air. We're about 2 miles from the sea. Yeah, that's that's what we were just discussing. Now, funny enough, those are the little €10 ones. These ones, I can't remember how much it was. It wasn't more than €20. But funny enough, this one's the tripping the light fantastic on the plastic. This is, I think this one was also Leroy Merlin. I'm sure it was. So this one is 4.5 watt LED one. It's got a nice little bracket on there, so you can drop that in and take it in for the winter. There's an idea. You could take it in for the winter. So you could actually take these in when you're away. But this one I find is quite bright. So I'm looking forward to actually testing some of these at night. But this one's got a sensor on it as well, so the battery should last a bit longer than some of the other ones because it should be activated on the sensor usage. So I'm looking forward to getting that one up and running. Like I said, plastic seems okay. The way I look at it, you should only get exterior lights should only last 10 years anyway. That's a life cycle of a light, even in the UK. I do agree with the salt air in that here. You'll be lucky to get 10 years. If they unlock the economy, shelves will be cleaned out like locusts, and then the short supply will bring inflation, rapid inflations, and economic lockdown. Yeah, I do not, like I said, I don't know what they're up to with the economy. I do think there are some serious problems coming up, especially around the way the markets are being manipulated at the moment. There's a whole recovery plan, but that can only work if we're on an exit. You know, in the sense that we're coming out of COVID. If we suddenly go back into it and stay in it again, it's going to hit the economy severely and be very hard to recover. I mean, I know the UK investing. Well, this is the government investing in military upgrades on vehicles, etc. In Spain, there's a whole piece of the housing industry around the cities being developed. So there is some major projects being sort of injected to try and offset some of this. Don't get me wrong, some of them may already be planned, but the point being is they're trying to ride it out by spending it, which is often as somebody's mentioned, a socialist way of getting out of business, out of debt, is by overspending, creating inflation. Your pound suddenly worth about 70p, or your euro's goes from a euro to about 60 cents, and that debt from the government borrowed debt is reduced because the value of the debt has decreased, and it's sort of balances it out with your money. But anyway, not doing economies today. Tobacco stacker: suggest stocking up now of the things you'll need. Anything made from steel will begin to be expensive or will be unavailable. It's not a bad idea to get 2 months of dry food and some tobacco tray. Okay. Are they solar? Yeah. About 60% of my lights will be solar. All the exterior lights will be solar. We are looking at solar panels for the roof. We are looking at solar water heaters as well, because we're quite lucky. The house is 3 stories. The top story's got the water tank in a very convenient location. So if we put a solar water tank on the roof with the tubes on there, it wouldn't be hard to connect it into the existing system without too much adaptation. Now, I've been looking at it. There's a few bad reviews, so I'm just trying to get to a point where I can find one that works. Know that it's going to last 10-15 years, because as somebody's mentioned already, corrosion's a big problem here. So the point being is I need to make sure I'm going to get my money's worth out of it. Now, electricity wise, I find the water heater, if it's running 24 hours a day, it was costing about €80 a month. When we put it on a time clock, it's halved. The bill's halved. So the point being, the relevant point to that is the majority, or more than 50% of my bill, is actually the water heater, because like now our air conditioning hasn't been on at all since probably the Christmas, when it was on over the winter months for the heating. It wasn't on for cooling. Also, that they did that quite nicely with us with the bill, because we didn't pay one in December. No idea why, but they didn't tell us, so we got hit with a bill for €700 because they hit us twice in one hit. But yeah, through the winter it costs us about €300 a month, but we do run the aircon for heating. Ebogan, you know that the PCR in the UK is nearly £100, but in Portugal it's around €35. But we need 3 tests in Portugal plus 1 before leaving UK. The UK one, they are doing deals on some of it if you get a package holiday, I believe. They do say holidays, but I mean, even if somebody's trying to travel, if you just book the flight, I don't think you get the discount. Cheapest I've found it is Boots, which was £99. What frustrates me is we're actually paying a 20% tax on something that is compulsory, which is, I find, a bit ludicrous, but that's reality. We're paying tax. If they took the tax off it, there's 20 quid back in your pocket. Zenan Akil, any thoughts on XRP crypto? It's a bit random on here, but XRP is a fund on Ripple, and it's mainly I'd watch Ripple to see what Ripple's doing, because a lot of the stuff around XRP can be just for media generation to fluctuate the price. Don't get me wrong, if you see it drop below 19 cents, it's worth a buy-in, and then when it goes up, take it as far as you think is viable, and then dump it, and then buy it again when it drops again. But that's like most of the crypto market. Where are we now? Minky Flicker, is this your first property purchase? In Spain it is, yes. We have rented 3 locations in Spain, but this is the actual first purchase for us. We spent a bit of time looking. I'll tell you why. It's because it's like where we went to in Torrevieja. I'm glad we didn't buy it, because quite simply there were some difficult neighbours there. Not with us, it was just that you got neighbours that were getting drunk and fighting. You got neighbours doing construction work, blocking up the road, and just being loud because their parties till 3 o'clock in the morning. So when purchasing, it is worth spending a bit of time in an area, because it may be completely different when you move there, because you're there at different times. It's a bit like some of these holiday complexes with the swimming pools. Fantastic going out of season, great little place. But then if you try and live there and working from home, you may find that people come in at 2 o'clock in the morning and decide to jump in the swimming pool, make an absolute racket. And after they're there for 2 weeks, you're there all the time. So they think it's not really a problem, but you're getting people doing it nearly every week. So it can be a little bit difficult on that one. Stuart Crawford, just put solar panels on roof, electric bill reduced by 50%. Have you got them in Spain, Stuart? Just a quick question, because I know they had the taxes on the solar tax in Spain. I know they rescinded some of it, but I'm sure there's still a collection by the state for the tax on what would be generated. So the VAT, basically, they would still expect the VAT, but maybe you know more than I do, because I haven't looked at it since they rescinded the tax on it. I miss Spain. Just used to love strolling through little Andalusian villages, very quaint and rustic. Yeah, that's part of it. It's just going out and chilling. That's the key to the area. I get people to tell me, oh, it's like a concrete jungle here, and it's like we're on a strip between the sea and 2 lakes. We've got a massive nature park that side. We've got sand dunes down there. You can walk all the way to Guadamar along the beach. It's a 80s, 90s sort of development, don't get me wrong, but it's about what's around you. Tobacco Stacker, 3 times £100 test for a virus with a death rate less than HIV seems odd. Why no HIV testing? It's to do with the transmission, but we're still working on the reasons why and what. I think that's the big question everybody's asking. Let me drop down. There's a few questions going on. How is Villa Martin? I haven't been up to Villa Martin yet, to be fair. We did have the car go down again. The car's back in for repair. Tell you what, GM Motors, Vauxhall, and what's the other one over here? Opel. I will never buy another one of their products in my lifetime. When they did the diesel filter, they discovered that the catalytic converter's also been drilled out, so now that's been replaced. So come Monday, all the cars back to normal. But I'll tell you what, I'm just waiting for 2 years at the minute, and I'll say 2 years because I'm probably going to get a Volvo, getting a hybrid or an electric Volvo, but I'm waiting for the quality of the batteries to improve before I even look at it, because you spend a lot of money to find out. 12 months later, the battery life will double. The distance you can travel will probably double in 12 months as the technology jumps forward, which is about to, because you've got all the main car manufacturers looking at this stuff. So I'm sort of sitting on this, biting my lip, really annoyed the amount of money I've spent on this car, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, if come Monday the problems are gone, I'll keep it until I can replace it with a Volvo. Next question, Ross Baycole. I'm here just for Tobacco Stacker's comments. Brilliant. I'm taking notes and planning to move to Spain with my family, but now I have my doubts. Rent is a mug's game. Not if you buy in the wrong place. There is nothing wrong with renting, especially if you know how to use your tax incentives and whatever. You can offset costs. It's the same as if you buy a place, you can offset costs if you have a business, because you can put renovation costs and whatever you through it. It depends what you want. There is no risk. There's less risk. I mean, the other thing is, rents in Spain are fairly cheap. If you had 100,000 in the bank and invested 100,000, you could turn more with that than your rent would be, easily. Stuart Crawford, the sun tax being dumped, so just pay standing charge plus some supply charges if the sun don't shine. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I haven't looked into it too much since the changes, because it was just when the changes were occurring was the last time I looked at it, because obviously while we're purchasing, you sort of have a look around and think, okay, I'll come back to that, because you've got 101 things going on. So it was something I picked up and was basically just observing, and left it, because we're not at a stage where I'm going to put the solar panels in. Now we have a roof area we can do the same as a solar water heater, because a solar water heater, because it's nearly 50% of the bill anyway, or around 50%, it would pretty much drop my bill by 50% simply by having that, because it's not generating power, it's just converting it to heat. So I'm not even sure if that even fell into the same remit as the other bit would on electricity, but it possibly does. Flashing, my daughter and family living at Lazinia near the boulevard. How's it down there? Want to go back this summer? We were over at Lazinia Boulevard last week, funny enough. We're up at My Tapas. It was very, very quiet, and it was really weird last Sunday, because we went there and there was more people on the Sunday when all the shops were shut than there was when we went there during the week, when we were looking at Leroy Merlin for these type of things. On Sunday there only seemed to be Starbucks open, yet there was probably just on the plaza bit in the middle 80 people. So that was a bit weird, but it's always cheaper to shop when it's always cheaper to shop when the shops are shut. That's what I was saying. Rents in Spain are so high they are driven out their own young, like in Portugal. It's a disaster. In the cities, definitely. I would say the rents have been inflated, but this is also part of why they're investing in building properties around the city to try and bring some of that down. Also, there's the same around the property ownerships, because a lot of that was caused by foreigners buying them as rentals, buying them from Airbnb, all that sort of stuff inflates the market, because you buy the cheaper properties up, you push the market up because you're not interested in the local that'll pay you 300, 400 a month when you get 400 a week by giving it to a tourist coming in. So yeah, but Spain's been manipulating that to try and offset it a bit by more construction, bringing in rules around the number of tourist properties in buildings. Obviously, I don't believe that has occurred on the coast, because obviously we've got a ridiculous amount of properties on the coast, but in the cities it certainly has. Yeah, it's about a stack. Unless you live in the middle of nowhere, but there are no jobs, it's a mess. Last year, so many people I know left. There's nothing left here. The key to it for me and it is remote working. I do think there's going to be more of a push on remote working. I know the UK is pushing it a lot more. I see a lot of it in LinkedIn, where companies are starting to focus it. Not for your benefit, by the way, although that's what they'll be portraying. I worked out when I was in London before, my desk, bearing in mind it was a big office, just my desk was costing £500 a week when you take into account the taxes on it, the electricity, the internet infrastructure, all the costs. It was about £500 a week, and yet they wanted to see you in the office at that time because that was the mentality. As the company was struggling financially, they started getting rid of all these leases on these big buildings, and then suddenly realised, oh, things still function, but you know what? We've saved millions by getting rid of these buildings. Because even going in for a meeting, because my office used to be just outside Euston Station. As you go up the escalator on the left, there's a high rise. I used to be on, I think it was the 6th or 7th floor there. Well, the point being is, just going into London, the train could cost me £140 for the day. And for what? Just for somebody to see me face to face. Well, I was already using Skype then, but the point is, got Skype, got Zoom, got all these other alternatives out there now, and obviously the internet infrastructure's improved. As you can see here, we're sitting on, I think ours is 60 to 100 meg broadband. It's fairly stable, no issues with it. I'll dribble my tea because I'm rushing. I don't think there is a great exodus from the west, because the east is on the rise. So the smart money is actually working remotely if you can. So the point being is, what I try and do is, if I can get out here working full time, my cost of living is about half of what it would be in the UK. So the point being is, in that sense, if I could get out here full time and just fly when needed, because only like 2-3 months of the year I actually need to be in the UK, financially I could be significantly better off in Spain. Right, next question. So I'm not ignoring Tobacco Stacker, it's just I'm trying to get everyone else as well, because there's a lot of questions and stuff coming up. Flashing, I was looking to buy a place in Elche last year. Do you think that's a good idea? Elche is quite a developed area. It's an industrial area. There's a lot of factories and stuff around it. Depends what you're looking for. I mean, for tourism wise, I don't know. I mean, if you're looking at somewhere to live and find work, I do find that some of the people we know from Torrevieja have moved nearer Alicante, moved up to Elche, because there is more job opportunities there. So it could possibly be a better job option. But if it's retirement, if you like the area, then yeah, I mean, if that's for you. Because I mean, one of the things I do like about along the coast here is you can get to the airport quite easily. The bus station's very good, so you know you can nip down to Torrevieja bus station and hop on a bus to Madrid. You can get a bus to Cartagena. You go up to Alicante, pick the train up at Alicante. The ability to travel around Spain is very, very easily. So that's one of the things I do like about here. So even if you're just in one area, it's the ability to travel around, which is the bit I love here. Huffy 72, where locally can you get a PCR test in La Mata, Guatemala, Quesada, Bajales area? Where I go is IMED, which they have kept clinics scattered around. But if you know where Carrefour is, and then there's the in Torrevieja, behind the Carrefour you've got Habaneras, and sort of on the road, the motorway side, you know, the M332 side, you'll see IMED. IMED's just over the bridge, so just over the bridge on the left hand side, and they do them in there. I can't remember how much they cost, because it might have been updated since I last checked, but I think last time it was about 100, I think it was 110 euros or something. But it's quite easy to get a test in there. You just pre-book it, and away you go. Not an issue. Next one, skill. Neighbour got 16 solar panels for 22,000 euros. Still need to be connected to main electric, and now you don't get paid for feeding into the network anymore. Annual service costs etc. 22,000, a lot of electric. Yeah, exactly. So one of the key things there, like you're saying, if you're not getting any money from the network, you want to get near to the maximum on your system, or the maximum you'll get contribution back. So for example, if you were using 70% of your electric, meant that 30% is fed from the grid, it would mean that you're not giving anything back to the grid in theory, because it depends how it's wired up, because you should be using nearly all your electric before you go to the grid, because there's no point giving it back to the grid, they're just taking it. Speaking 998877. Hi Matt, just going back to what you discussed, are you taxed in Spain on your income or the UK? Just curious. It's a funny one, because I've wrote to the tax office in Spain, I've wrote to the tax office in the UK, got them in touch with each other, and because it's paid at source, which is in the UK, Spain is not too interested. Now don't get me wrong, it could be different for different people, because welcome to Spain, there's a lot of different criteria. If you're a diplomatic service or somebody from that realm, I think the police are the same. Retired in Spain, I don't believe you pay any tax, but somebody on a government pension, state pension, sorry, may have a different criteria. I haven't looked into it at that level, because to be fair, I've sort of lost interest in my government pension. I don't see it surviving much longer, to be fair. There is different criteria for different types of people. Also where you're working, because the UK system is basically you pay tax where you are. The Spanish system is you pay tax where the company's based. So you could be in Spain working for a British company, and it completely messes the system up, because the systems aren't stitched together to understand that too well. So my argument has always been, well, I'll pay it at source, it's already been paid, and so far that hasn't been an issue, and I have engaged with everybody and they just haven't come back with any issues about it. So I do pay it in the UK, it's done at source, and I've not had any problems. Don't get me wrong, I still get stung for a little bit of tax, but it's nothing compared to the UK. Cloudline, how are everything down there? Here everything's good. I've got to admit, the beach is a lot busier today. The wind's dropped, because we've had winds of up to, I think it's 22 kilometers for the last 2 weeks. So the wind's dropped, a lot more people on the beach. Everything seems to be moving okay. Everyone seems to be fairly relaxed. Still got the restrictions, don't get me wrong. They did lift the regional lockdown, I think it was towards the end of last week. And to be fair, as my wife said, nobody really noticed, because everyone's just gone about their own business. But what we have seen is we've had people coming in from Murcia and other places escaping to the coast, because it's the first opportunity they've had to get out. So it has been a bit busier in here, in La Mata, because there's been an influx of Spanish tourists. Another, I mean, you can find some good renovation projects in Spain. The prices aren't too bad, but the lack of knowledge of how their construction process works, the language barriers, etc., would be a headache. They normally are, but even in the UK, I deal with builder control quite a lot in the UK because I have 43 schools that I look after. So I have all sorts of criteria, from dealing with asbestos, health and safety executive, building control, building design, and then all the other bodies involved around the financial side. But we've also constructed in the Philippines. We built our own properties in the Philippines, and that wasn't too tedious either. Spain is partly having a good builder. Philippines was the same, because it can be hard to get people to work the right way, because they're often, this is no knockback for anybody, by the way, but you may have a modern system for doing something that they may not be familiar with, and people may go back to default. Now, I haven't experienced it here in Spain, but I have experienced it in the Philippines, where, for example, with tiling the floor, I was showing them how to use tile adhesive, and then I went out for lunch, come back, and they'd gone back to putting a cement bed nearly an inch and a half thick and dropping the tiles on, which takes nearly a week to dry, instead of adhesive where we could walk on it tomorrow morning. So that stuff really frustrates me, because you're actually trying to make it easier for them, and then they just backtrack anytime they can. Yeah, Flesh and Alicante is a hidden gem of a city. Many Brits just fly in and move out. Really nice. There's a lot to see in Alicante. Yeah, I mean, I do find the restaurants up there quite good. I've got to admit. So yeah, I do recommend, if you get a bit of time, spend a bit of time up in Alicante. Tobacco Stacker. The UK pension is so bad, I'm considering no longer paying tax and going rogue. I don't expect any of it to be there. Or if it is, it's devalued, worthless fiat. I do think it won't. See, the funny thing is, I often got locked into this with my parents about the healthcare and all this sort of stuff, but I've gone private on the healthcare. I don't think the pension is in a good state, and it's going to get worse. I mean, the money for what we're doing now, in the sense of all this furloughed opportunity that's occurred, has going to have to come from somewhere, and the biggest pocket that's available will be pensions at some point, and I believe they've already started to try and raid some of the corporate ones. Yeah, Joseph Keegan, would you have a pool if you had a villa? It depends where it is. I mean, I've got to admit, I love having a pool, but can I be bothered to maintain it? Would I use it often enough to justify the amount of time I spend cleaning and dealing with the maintenance on it? And then you pay the extra tax on it as well. It's a bit like that, where if you get a communal one, you can sort of enjoy it without any of the hassles. So I probably prefer a communal one, because it's a bit like a friend of mine in the Philippines. He had the nice pool, used to get his friends come round, have beer around his pool, have a great time, and then they go home, and it's like, so I'm left with clearing up all their mess. It's like they come round here because I've got the swimming pool. So by default, he ends up running it like a hotel. I really don't want that. Cloud Lion, I was thinking of moving down to Spain again. Do you have any sites I can look at for an apartment? Idealista is one of the main ones. I'd start there, because I do find that the majority of decent properties I've come across have been on there, along with I try and speak to people locally and see what's available. So yeah, Idealista is a good one. Cloud Line, I was thinking, next question. Edward Girona, hi Matt, I'm coming back to Alicante, my real place, after 5 years up and down in the UK. Yeah, but I bet you'd be glad to get back. I've got to admit, there's a positive thing once you get to Spain. You just sort of feel more relaxed just as soon as you arrive. Well, I do anyway. I get off that plane, I just like, I'm home. I do get the same feeling in the Philippines as well, by the way, because I was out in the Philippines for 8 years. But the point being is, you just get that, you're here, you've arrived, you're chilled, the pressure's off. Ross Baycolt, someone was mentioning Alicante, but realistically, what's the type of employment that they're at? they're outside of the services that are tourism, that are outside of the tourism industry. That's what I was mentioning about remote working. I do recommend looking at things like pay per hour and some of the remote working sites, Freelancer. But it depends if you've got the right skill sets for those, because the majority of jobs that you'll find are going to be low paid, low skilled. You're not going to get a high corporate job on the coast unless it's with a British company. You're working for them remotely. You're going to find it hard to get anything decent, because there's that many people applying for the same job. You're not going to find that you'll get it. Simple as that. There is too much competition. Edward Girona, both countries are great for business and living. You just need to make it happen. Exactly, and that's the key. I mean, in Spain, I think you have to have your business rather than work for somebody else, because I find a lot of the stuff here is very difficult when working for somebody else. Yet there's a lot of opportunities there if you have your own business. I think that's why the majority of the people I know that have been here for a very long time are either retired, or they're a hairdresser, they're a builder, they own a taxi company, they're a real estate agent. But even as a real estate agent, they're autonomo, they're self-employed, and it's that ability to stand on your own 2 feet that does make it more viable, because a lot of the tax restrictions in Spain do put people off employing people. I've got to admit, the UK is just as bad in many ways. So next question, Joseph Keegan, thanks for the answer on the poll. You're welcome. Yeah, Race Bacol, not for nothing, but tobacco's comments are gold. Pessimistic, yes, but there are a lot of truth in it. The thing with any questions is there will always be some truth in it and some honesty. And to be fair, if you're going to come out to a new country, you've got to understand that not everything's going to be great. You're going to find things that frustrate you. You're going to find bureaucracy that you get annoyed with in another country. But forget that most of that bureaucracy has been done through your life, yet you may not have seen it. Because when you were born in the UK, first thing your parents do is register your birth, then or your blood group, or you're rubber stamped and barcode and into the system, and then obviously you leave school, you get your national insurance number. Well, when you come to Spain, you're going through the same hoops again, but bearing in mind you haven't to do them all in one hit, because you're going in, right, I need to register that I live in this house. Okay, you need your electoral roll, you need to register for the tax, okay, you need your NIE and everything else, and you've got to go down the employment office, and you've got all these documents generated to say you're here and you can work, you're allowed to work, you're legally allowed to be here. So there's a lot of process there, but the point being is, just don't worry about it, just take your time. That's the key to this. You'll not get it done in a day. I've had people say to me, well, I'm coming in on Wednesday, can I get in and get an appointment? Do it. No. Book your appointment online and see what's available, because you find that some of these get accelerated, in the sense of lots of advanced bookings, or they've got certain relationships with real estate agents, etc., that seem to jump the queue. And but the point being is, you're going to have to invest some time to get over the line. Hattie, sorry. After Brexit, have they started clamping down on businesses paying taxes in Orwell Costa? I haven't seen anything yet, but I haven't seen any local newspapers around the issues either, so I can't really comment on it. But they should be paying taxes anyway if they've got premises. If you're talking about the ones that are illegal builders, etc., probably not, because there are very little interest to the locals, the local systems. If they wanted, they could track them down quite easily, but they just don't seem to bother. Nshako, do you work as a contractor or a permanent employee? As I work as an IT contractor, I'm hoping they will give me the opportunity to spend extended time in Spain between roles in the future. I'm an employee. Because this contract I'm on will run for if I stay there till 2034. I do find the workload will keep me busy non-stop, and I'm sure it'll put a lot of people off wanting the job. But at the same time, once this COVID situation breaks, whenever it happens, I will be commuting a lot more, because the big hurdle I've had is actually the house. So we've got a big chunk down as the deposit, and the rest of it will be paid off quite quickly. So then the rest is relaxation money, and then I'm going to start pumping money into an investment fund, and then the rest of it will be into the next properties, because I want to get about 5 properties along La Mata, plus some savings, and that'll be me. I can then take it easy going forward. Fleshing, I'm retired at an early age, lucky my wife is a teacher. Do you think she could find a teaching job? I speak a bit of Spanish, but she's German second language. There is teaching opportunities here. The pay's not fantastic, but it may be worth looking online, because you might find that you get a better rate. You may also find private tutor lessons pay a better rate. I know Denise works for a guy that's Spanish, and he does these immersive type setups where basically you come and live in somebody's house or whatever for 2 weeks, a month, or whatever, at a premium cost. So you speak whatever that native language is in the house, and it's sort of forced you to learn the language. Those sort of things is a bit of thinking out the box, but that's where the bigger money is going that little bit extra, saying you'll learn more here, because we speak German, we speak French, English, whatever. That's our native language, and that's our household language. But we do understand Spanish, so if we do struggle with something, we can communicate. But the point is, there is opportunities to develop that even yourself. Puffy 72, what started the fire by the dunes? I haven't heard yet. That's the second fire we've had in as many weeks. There was another one over, I think it was over the lakeside, which was much, much worse. But not sure who or what started it, because it's not, although you've got the dunes there, it's on a sand base, so I don't think it, unless, I think somebody started it, whether it was by accident or whatever. I don't think it was natural causes, that's all I'll say. Rabbit Travels, any idea if the refurbished Ambassador Hotel in Benidorm is open yet, or waiting for restrictions to be lifted? Don't know, to be perfectly honest. Might be worth asking the same question on some of the Benidorm channels, because they might even pop down and have a look at it for you. Brian Hughes, go on Hugo Talks and look at the massive protest in London yesterday, not reported by the media. This might wake people up. I've seen some of the protest videos actually. The media's not going to cover it. It's simple as that. And while it's not pushed to the forefront, I don't think that will change, because it's people. I've got to say, the government are probably sitting there thinking people are accepting this. They're moaning, they're going on Facebook and complaining, but that's about it. Go and walk in London or whatever. If it's not, I'm not in London on the weekends, so I don't care. It could be as blasé as that. In my personal opinion. My personal view, I don't think the protests are quiet protesting will make that much difference. The only time I've seen the UK actually wake up was after the poll tax riots. That was the last time I've seen anything massive make a change. What is next? JKK, that right can't pay, they take it away. Enshackle, left field question. Have you noticed if many restaurants including gluten-free on the menu? I've read that Spain is further forward than UK on this. Wasn't sure if it was more Madrid, Barcelona, etc. Knowing the people I do in the restaurant industries, I find that the restaurant guys I know are very, very switched on. They have a lot more local ingredients. Spain's very organic anyway, but I do find that I don't look for it on the menu, to be fair, but I wouldn't be surprised if everywhere's got a gluten alternative on there. Yeah, wouldn't surprise. I can't remember what I was somewhere last week, funny enough, and it mentioned gluten-free burgers. Funny enough, that's what it was. That's what caught my attention, because I said to my wife, "Well, what's a gluten-free burger?" But yeah, I would say they're more advanced in the UK. They are more. I think it's already been more common here for longer. Like I said, I think the food produce is about 60-70% organic anyway, so there's a lot more thought gone into it. I find the UK has too much processed food. That's why I like going around the supermarkets here. You get a lot more fresh food, you get a lot more meat varieties, all this sort of stuff. UK, I find there's too many frozen sections, there's too many canned sections, there's not enough vegetables, there's not enough fruit. Yeah, I know what you're saying, and yes, I'd say, just from knowing Spain, I would say yes, it probably already is more gluten aware, because it is definitely more organic, thinking forward. We actually had some bees. I'm not sure what they were doing with the bees down by the plaza. I'm not sure if they're pollinating on purpose or whatever, but they do. There is bees moved around as well to help with the pollination. I wanted to ask, some of these properties listed on Idealista costing £20,000 around Andalusia, are they likely to be a scam? I would say possibly not. I'll say possibly, that's my get out of jail free card. But there is a lot of cheap properties about. What you've got to check, get decent solicitor to have a look. Cost you maximum €1,000 all in. Maximum €1,500 all in, if you went through all the legal process and they did everything for you. But they'll check the debt, check the ownership, check the taxes are paid, all that lovely stuff. So, but because some of these places can be a bit far out, not far out, but far out of a developed area, they are cheaper. So it just depends where it is. I mean, if you go to, I think my friend John was showing me some up in Alicante. There's apartments in Alicante for I think 19-20,000. I don't know, San Luis, when I first come out here, had 1-bedroom bungalows for 19,000. So there are some around. Yeah, Hattie, supermarkets have a lot of gluten-free. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In fact, I know Carrefour, for example, has a whole section, and I think Mercadona do the same. They've got a whole section that's gluten-free. Tobacco stack, anything new, 2-bed, 1-bed, or 300-400,000. Well, yeah, I explained that. Yeah, that's one of the things I brought up before about properties, because the older properties are far cheaper than new. And you know, for me, I sort of scratched my head. How can something be 2-3 times the value of something that was built in the 80s, 90s, yet the land is still owned? You know, you're still buying that plot of land, because the property itself shouldn't be that big a value. But you're right, the prices are a bit odd. 72. Do you ever watch another YouTubers in the local area? T. Dot and Co. Between the Legs, Miles, Moments, Spanish Farmstead. To be fair, I'm busy most of the time, so I don't get a lot of time to do most things. When I'm in the UK and finish work for the day, I often will be chatting to my wife and kids. And then preparing for the work the following day, especially with this lockdown stuff. Otherwise, I'll be out at bookshops or doing something. You know, I try not to spend too much time in front of a screen, although it sounds a bit hypocritical when I do a YouTube channel. But yeah, I mean, it's not a case I have any issue with anybody else's channel. It's just quite simply time is always an issue for me. That's interesting. My daughter's a vegetarian and she struggles in restaurants in touristy areas, but as you said, away from them it's great. Yeah, exactly. You got to bear in mind, it's a bit like going to an Indian restaurant here, and I'm not trying to be PC or anything. You know, like, let's just say oceanfront, or you go into one of the big house, which is more Asian orientated meals. You can get meals that are often not, you wouldn't find them in the UK. You know, you would not go into a Chinese restaurant and order fish and chips, but you may find here you can get fish and chips. You can get a pizza, you can get this, you can get that. It's like 10 different restaurants in one along the coast, you know, in the tourist areas. But when you start going further inland, you're starting to get into the local food, and you start getting into more fresh produce, because the asparagus, for example, in this area is very good. So you'll get the white asparagus in some of the Spanish restaurants. Some of the Spanish restaurants are fantastic. But yeah, I agree. Going inland, you can often get better food. Don't get me wrong, stuff on the coast good. You want Indian food? They've got some. Where do we eat? Ocean View was really good. But yeah, I like a mix of food. But like I said, restaurant-wise, if you want more vegetarian, you're probably right. Going down more the Spanish restaurants, you're probably going to get a better variety. Shackle, thanks for the answers. Referring gluten-free, I agree with you regarding processed foods. You don't see anywhere near the ready meal culture in Spain that you do in the UK. Yeah, it was really funny when I went out to the Philippines, because I never seen one microwave meal. In fact, I don't think there was anything that was microwavable. Everything was cooked from scratch. My wife cooks everything from scratch. That's why my kids have a very, very good diet, because April, even not the kids now, like for example, she'll mix tuna in with the burgers and stuff, so they get a lot of vegetables and stuff, but she makes everything from scratch. Stephen Birth, what's the matter like for the dog scene? I want to bring 3 out, eventually still contemplating doing the mobile home living at first as well. There is more than enough rentals to pick from what I've seen. Yeah, dogs, lots of people have dogs. It's quite a common thing because of the flats. A lot of people have at least 1 or 2 small dogs. So yeah, dogs is not an issue. There's a lot of people seem to have them. I know there's a lot of retired ladies of an older age here that have them as if they're husbands or something. They seem very close. Next one, Hattie, do you have any recommendations for auto escalators to learn how to drive, and do you know if it's mandatory to take the test in Spain? I can't really comment on that. We did talk to one previously, but I'm still waiting for April to take her first test yet. So I can't really comment on that. I will ask around though, and it's the sort of thing it's worth asking in the Lamata group on Facebook, because there's nearly, I think it's 2.5, nearly 3,000 members in there. You can ask a lot of people different questions in there, and you'll get a good mix of responses, because it's not just Brits, there's Dutch, there's French, there's Belgian, a lot of Spanish in there. So that's where I'd recommend. Brian Blade, hi all. Are there any bowls clubs in the area? Thanks. I'm not sure there's any over at Orihuela, because this side, no, we haven't got one. Unless you're on about the Spanish one. I can't remember what the name is for the Spanish one, but there is a lot of, there's about 2 small pitches down by the Picayo Park, and there's another one over by the Repsol Garage. If that's what you're talking about, there must be clubs, because they do meet up there quite regular. But if you're on about greens bowling, I haven't seen anywhere. But if you're on about the Spanish stuff, yeah, there's got to be, because there's a lot of the guys play it. Yeah, Fleshing, I have to say supermarkets in Spain are so much better than in the UK. What's on offer local wise is great, unless you have an Argentinian football shirt on. Yeah, I've got to admit the variety is something that I love. And the other thing is, I think they're a bit more seasonal here as well, so you will see a lot more things change through the year. So you do get things coming in out of season, which is also good. I'll have to have a look. Sorry, I'll have to do a new video update in next time I'm in a supermarket, because I know the Mercadona had a renovation and I haven't done a video since they've done that. Stephen Burr, T. and Co are great. It's more a cooking channel. Good guys though. Do loads of food reviews on places and do home cooking videos that look yummy too. Yeah, I've got to admit, I like eating out and I like cooking, but the problem I have is when I eat out I like to enjoy the time, so I like spending it with April and the kids. So we don't do as many videos as we should, but with a new house we've got more space, so who knows. I've noticed my battery's going pretty low at the minute. I got 22 minutes. Is there any other questions, guys? Or I'll have a look at my list. Yeah, my thoughts on the summer holidays. That's one of the things I had on here. I think that give it another 3 or 4 weeks, we'll know exactly where we're heading. We're either going to nosedive into another lockdown, or we're going to see Spain and everywhere else open up. I know Spain's open for business. I think that announcement's coming next week, or from tomorrow onwards. But at the same time, with the UK and this variant from India that seems to be escalating, that may put the UK on a red notice for every other country. Who knows where that's heading, and it's a bit of a roll of a dice at the minute. But for me, I think you just plan and just go on as you can. My view is just try to do what you can. There's no point getting dragged into this stuff. There's no point getting frustrated or annoyed, or deflecting the annoyance, because like I said, I'll find some people are a bit frustrated, so I become a target, because obviously, you've gone to Spain. It's like, yes, because I've got multiple reasons for coming. It's not tourism. In fact, I would like to have some tourist time, because I rarely have spare time. I'm always busy doing something. So for me, it's just understanding that the situation we're in is quite a difficult one. I do think for me, I don't know what the outcome is, in the sense of I don't know what their goal is, the end game. I don't think it's going to be, I know some people think, this is about suppression or whatever. The problem you've got with trying to suppress people is you'll hit a point where people have got nothing to lose, and that's the most dangerous situation to be in, because at that point, that's what creates a tipping point into civil war. So I don't believe they want to go that far, but why they're doing some of this stuff, and I have to say, why is it incompetence? Is the poor advisories? I have no idea, but I do feel that there's a lack of coordination and a lack of forward planning on some of this. It just seems to be, let's see what we'll do on Monday all the time, or let's have an announcement on the Sunday. It just doesn't seem very well organised. Hi Matt, do you ever use overseas in Iceland? Yes, I do. In fact, there's a video in the channel when I went there before. We use that mainly for Christmas food, to be fair, because I like, when I have Christmas, I like to spend a lot of money on the food and all the junk food and stuff, to make it a big thing every year. So Christmas is my time of year where I always get home and make sure that we celebrate Christmas. Whatever else has gone on in the year, that's the key dates that we enjoy that period of time. So yes, there is a video on that, and also there's a Tesco, which is over towards Orihuela. Was it Casada? Yeah, Casada, sorry. Which is near the JYSK, which is the furniture store. If you head from La Mata, go up towards Guadamar, take the left, go up in the overpass towards the Lemon Tree Market, keep going down there, then turn right at the main, I think it's about 2-3 roundabouts, follow the signs up towards Casada, and on your right you'll see JYSK, and and there's Tesco's round the back there. Have I heard about the new Mark Dingley? Have I heard about the new speed limits in Spain? Yes. To be fair, I don't. When I'm here, I don't normally speed around anyway, because I'm normally busy looking around and being nosy, or just enjoying the time. So I'm never sort of whizzing around. I'm more like to get a ticket in the UK. Yeah, maybe I'll do a video on that. Yeah, JKK, car that don't go over 70 miles an hour. On the back of COVID law, yeah. Well, I'm not sure we come on the back of COVID, so I'll have to take your word on that. But yeah, there does seem to be some other stuff going on in the background, which is normal. Welcome to politics. Yeah, Iceland by La Marina is a nice place to shop. I haven't been to that one. I've been to La Marina about 3 times. There's some videos about La Marina where I've gone through it, but I'll have to have a look. Yeah, tobacco stag. I think if they don't back off in the next 6 months, it will all kick off. I think they're starting to see noise in places like Greece, France, probably Italy as well, and Spain's probably got some noise, but like somebody was mentioned earlier about the protests that happened yesterday, they're not really being promoted as even occurring. It only seems to hit the news when they turn an entire city upside down. Hence, that's why I mentioned the poll tax riots, because that was a big change in the UK. I mean, that changed the government. Shackle didn't know that Tesco had outlets in Spain. I knew there was a Morrison's in Gibraltar. Yeah, the Tesco's part of the Iceland overseas, because you'll also find some of the products in there from, I think, Waitrose and even Marks and Spencer's, I think. One Love Dre, hello. My girlfriend and I are thinking of moving to Torrevieja in September. Would you say it's suitable for 2 freelancers in their early 20s making money online? Yeah, to be fair, you probably find it easier than a lot of people moving over here trying to find work. All I would say is look into the tax situation first, because that's the headache to do with the contributions to the state. But beyond that, yes. I mean, especially if you've got 2 kids, there's nothing wrong with contributing to the system that you're using. So, yeah, by all means, I recommend it. Because obviously, if you're paying into the system, you're into the healthcare as well. You're into the healthcare system. You're into the... Obviously, your kids will be going to the school. So, yeah, there's a lot of benefits to it. And the contributions aren't too bad. I mean, in the UK, I pay nearly 50% of my income to tax in various ways, whether it's the company car plus my earnings, but I simply get robbed blind. So those people that complain that Spanish system is unfair, the problem I have is finding a accountant that knows how to mess the system around to get as much out as possible. That's the one thing I did find I struggled in Spain, because they know how to manipulate the system to your benefit. That's what you want an accountant to do. They want to recover as much money as possible for you. That's what you pay them for. Flesh and Consum is a nice supermarket chain. Yeah, we go there quite often actually, because we normally find we go to different supermarkets for different things, because of the variety of goods that are on offer. So yeah, I agree with you. Consum is a good one. There's a good selection of food in there. But also there's a lot, I think I get a lot of the snacks I take back to the UK from there. Because the guys in the UK like me bringing the boxes of the, it's Consum. Yeah, they have these artisan bits where you can go and grab these boxes that are made by artisans by different parts of Spain. I'll take those back to the UK and people love them. I'm going to have to grab the charger. 2 seconds, guys. Well, it's just about shut down because I've got this new Mac. I've got a cooling pad underneath it because it gets red hot, and I've got a light on in the background just to put a bit of light across the screen, but it's killing my battery. Oh no, Catalineta. Hello, I live in northern Spain, but I often come to my house in Torrevieja in the summer. I miss talking to British people. Are there any good bars you recommend in Torrevieja? For me, I don't actually go there myself. That's something I'll put in the La Mata group, to be fair, because I'm sure Sue Morgan would be a good person on that, because she knows the best places to hang out. There's a few good people on there. But myself, I don't go to many bars, to be fair, so I can't really comment. Yeah, what else is in Torrevieja? I mean, it depends on the type of person, to be fair. It depends what you're looking for, because I mean, there is the La Mata wine place as well, so if you like the wine there, but yeah, I mean, it's difficult to sort of lock it into one thing. I suppose I'll have to do a bit more of a video in Torrevieja now that things are starting to open up again, and see what's still there in case anything's shut down. But I do like going around some of the restaurants near the port area there, because the seafood's pretty good on there. So that's all I can comment on that. I can't really be too much help on that side. Tobacco stack. I've seen a bar. It was 10,000. Was smaller than the master. Granny Angie, have you a fish tank bubbling away? Yes, I have. We got some goldfish that we've had since we've been here. They're still happily enjoying life, looking at me at the moment, asking to feed me. We were looking at getting them a bigger tank, actually. We're just waiting to move to the new house and we decide where we're going to put it before we disrupt them. But yeah, we put them slightly in the shade because we were finding with too much light that we were getting algae on the tank. Flesh, and the Torrevieja does have a nice seafront with cats on the stony beach. Yeah, there's about 14 to 16 cats live up there. Yes, tobacco stacker. In the whole property boat is just another setup, a goon fail. Well, the property investment market is a risky one at best, because of the if you have multiple investments. So, for example, say you're just buying it and it's spare cash, and you've got permanent tenants and that in there. They can pay off your mortgages, or you have no mortgage and paid off cash, and you know whether you get paid back in cash or whatever. I mean, I'm not getting into that, but the point being is, from that point of view, the money has been paid in, and it's just the ongoing payment back. But if you bought into properties, then expecting the market to go up and then just flip it, sell it, and move on, I think that's a very, very high risk market. But on top of that, I don't think the tax system's too keen on that type of system either. You can make money on it, don't get me wrong, but you can lose just as much. Yeah, there you go. Tobacco stacker. They can't tax you on savings, so they drive you into property by a phony interest rate, then drop the rate. Well, that's the thing that we're at risk at the moment, because this COVID situation is putting pressure on the economies. The money's got to come from somewhere, and either that's a devaluation of everything, so your money's devalued and what you own is devalued, but at the same time the devaluation of the debts for the state go down, which means your income hasn't gone up, it's gone down. So everything you own is worth less, and what you earn has stayed the same, but it's worth less as well, without them actually having to do anything beyond create inflation. But yeah, properties are high risk. But the other alternative of that is once it's, I mean, like this one here, once it's paid for, that's it. You know, it's paid for. That's where we live for the long term. So I'm not too fussed. Tobacco stack. If the banks paid the real rate of 7% a year, people would not have bought property. Yeah, they won't though. Stephen Burr, just put our goldfish in with the tropicals in the big tank. So far so good. Be interested to see how they get on. Dave667, if you don't have a car or garage, do you need to pay the summer roads and garage on the 7th? I'm sure you're asking, I assume you're asking me if your car's not on the road and in the garage, do you still have to pay summer? There is a declaration form for the vehicle being off-road. I'm not sure what the number is on that, but there is a document for it. Quickest and easiest way to find out is just go and ask at the summer office. Yeah, so with that, yeah, you're still going to have to pay tax. Mine's quite expensive because it's a diesel. Like I said, I'm just waiting at the minute till we get proper hybrid or an electric to come through. I think I'll get under the Volvo because I do like the build quality on the Volvos, but I'm not buying one right now when I know the market's going to change over the next couple of years as the batteries develop. Last thing you want is like a first generation Volvo with a fairly expensive car with a battery in it that quite simply will only give you 150, maybe 200, 210 miles. Then the following year they bring out one that will do 400, 500 miles. You're better off just waiting. I think that's realistically where everything's going to go because all the car manufacturers are looking at the same thing at the minute, so there's going to be a big drive on that. Sorry, what do you mean by La Mata wine place? There's near the fish market in Torrevieja, or the little market, there is a wine shop that actually sells the La Mata wine in Torrevieja. It has a few different wines in there, worth having a look at it. But also, even here, in La Mata, if you go near the town hall, next door, you can get La Mata wine in there because we have the wine from over the sand dunes, over between. Sorry, not the sand dunes, the vineyards over between around the lake. It's a wine that's quite it's exported to America a lot. But yeah, it's more of a bodega. So it's more of a wine shop rather than a place to go drinking. Rosberg Cole. Outside of the Teslas, all car brands have first generation batteries. You have to wait around 5 years for a proper battery life. Some Teslas have grand autonomy of 350 miles. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm going to hold on for 2 years and just see where the market goes. But like I say, 5 years, it'll be a massive change by then. But at the moment, I think I'm just going to sit and wait at least 2 years from now, just to let things settle down. Because obviously, the car charging points are a massive problem. Because there's hardly any. Doesn't matter where you are, unless you're in a city, and even then, parking in the city isn't great at the best of times. No mind trying to charge it at the same time. So we're miles away from where the governments like to tell us where they are, because they should have been doing this for the last decade. Stephen Berth, the shark had a bit of a pop territorial thing, but I think they're friends now. I'll keep you informed. Yeah, I do love fish. I used to have a lot of tropical fish before, but yeah, we've got goldfish at the moment. They seem quite happy, quite content, just chilling out, wandering around the tank all day. Just seeing if there's any other notes. Yeah, I think I've pretty much covered everything I've got here. I'll just see if there's any more questions coming in, because I might have to call it a day in a minute. Aki chap, if my friend and I let our house out in the UK and rent in Spain, we'd only be able to stay in Spain for 180 days of the year. We're semi-retired, by the way, so not at the state pension age yet. The thing with that, you would have to look at whether you're becoming a resident here or not, because the 180 days relates to if you're not a resident. But if you become a resident, then obviously it's a different set of rules and criteria. So you'd have to be over 180 days, but the best people to talk to is the immigration officials. And why I'm being pretty vague is the same as with we're helping somebody with a driving license recently. They're still sorting out with the UK what all the rules and regulations are, because she couldn't even renew her driving license. They actually turned around and said, "Oh, come back once they've sorted it out, because we don't actually know what they're doing, because they haven't made their mind up. And there's no point. You might as well just wait." So that's all I can say with that. Is you have to, at the moment, a lot of this is limbo with Brexit. But I don't think the Spanish side is going to be too negative, because they want the money here. They want people investing in their properties. They want people retiring on the coast. It's a cash cow at the end of the day. Flesh and parking in Torrevieja is amazing. Funny enough, that's why my car's back at the garage at the minute, because I had nowhere to park, because April had gone to get a new padron for the school. And I had nowhere to stop, and the car just did not like it. So it's back at the garage today, but it's due back tomorrow. I haven't had any messages off my mechanic, so I assume it's okay. CIBI 1968. Yeah, Aki chap, 90 days, then return home from Schengen zone. Yeah, 90-day visa. That's based on if you don't settle here. That's what I'm saying. If you do settle, then you're moving more into a residency visa rather than just coming as because the first 90 days is like a tourist. After 90 days, you're sort of looking at becoming a permanent resident, because they normally want you to apply within the first 3 months if you're going to become a resident. Yeah, so with that, a lot of that's still in limbo. I remember seeing somebody posting about the trucks going into the UK and blaming the truck drivers for being useless in not following the rules and all this sort of stuff, and I'm like, right, so what training have you been giving them for the last 2 or 3 years on the process? Or is it a case that you got Form 45C in green that's sitting on your desk that they've never seen before, and then going, well, we've had the forms for ages, not my fault, they don't know how to fill them in. I think there's been a poor communication on that one, but I believe, funny enough, this come from the guys over at Iceland Overseas. Clearing from the UK ports is taking up to 23 days at the minute. Now myself in the UK, with my type of work I do, I've been feeling the same in construction. I've got delays on a lot of materials. I mean, some of it's COVID, don't get me wrong, because they reduced the manufacturing capabilities. Some places used to run 24 hours, then they dropped down to a morning shift only. So funny enough, that did create a massive problem about the amount of production being done for things like glass for windows, because simply they weren't making enough. Fleshing, I think the Spanish are almost bending double to get us to move over, despite our government doing the opposite. I agree. That's why I'm trying to be diplomatic, but I do think the Spanish have been fair, where the UK side seems to be a bit more difficult. And I'm not sure why, considering a lot of this, I mean, they're going about the fishing rights and all that. We're not talking about that stuff. We're talking about the relationships between the UK and Spain, because I'm sure you should be able to have some more localised agreements, because considering the UK was never in the Schengen zone, that's the prime example of you can negotiate something separately, surely. Nicholas, is La Mata a big tourist location? Is buying apartments there a good investment? It's not a big location. Torrevieja is a bit bigger going south, and Guatemala to the north is a little bit bigger than La Mata. La Mata is more of a Spanish and Northern European destination. Has been for probably from the 70s, I suppose. It's not a big brick place. It's quite a quiet place in comparison to somewhere like Benidorm or Torremolinos or somewhere like that. It's more of a family orientated coastal, almost a village. It's like a village between two towns. I think that's the best way of describing it. Rental markets in high season, it gets very busy, but at the same time the properties here in La Mata are more expensive than Torrevieja. Everything, because it's on quite a narrow strip, because the sea's that side and the lake's that side. So you've got the nature park there, sea's that side, and down that side is the sand dunes. And then that side is the same. Once you get to the other end of La Mata, it's sand dunes again. So it's quite a good location, but is it a big rental market? I find it gets very busy. They get booked up every year, but at the same time, you may get a bigger return on one of the bigger mainstream holiday places. The reason I like it here is it is a bit more family orientated, a bit more chilled out. There's a lot of older people here. Torrevieja's average age is, I believe, 68. So yeah, I like this area because it's quiet. It is busy for 2-3 months of the year, but the rest of the year is pretty chilled out and relaxed. So yeah, it's all good. Alright guys, any last questions? Because otherwise I'll wrap it up, because we've been on here for an hour and a half. It's longer than I thought it would be on for today. If you enjoyed it, please like, please subscribe, and please share even. I think they're starting a members section on some of this stuff as well, which will be a little bit different. I've got to work out what it'll be different with, so happy for any suggestions on that. Yeah, Orihuela Costa's very family oriented. Yeah, agree. When's the next live stream? I'll do one next Sunday. There may be one sooner depending on what happens with the property. Well, I'll do a walk around in the property showing what we're looking at, in the sense of, you know, new kitchen, taking the windows out, all that sort of stuff. Nicholas, is it more important to know Spanish in Spain, or you come a long way with English? To be fair, depending on what you're doing, most of the people I know that are doing really well speak more than 2 languages. They normally speak 3 or 4, because a lot of this area, I find a lot of people from the north of Europe. So you get a lot of Germans, you'll have Dutch, French, Iceland, Scandinavia, you know, northern part of Europe. So speaking those plus Spanish and English opens your opportunities right up. So yeah, you definitely need Spanish, and English is useful, but in this area I'd say probably Dutch is just as useful as English. CIBI 968, thanks Matt, missed the first hour, but we'll catch up. Alright mate, have a great one. Flushing, Enshackle, Salt Lake. What did I miss? Enshackle. Where's there where the flamingos congregate? Is that near you or Torrevieja? Well, Pink Lake. You want to search for the Pink Lake, which is near me. It's near San Luis. That's where the other fire was, funny enough. just to the San Luis on the right. Then there's like the main road. Over the left hand side is the housing development. Beyond that is where the Salt Lake and the sand dunes were on fire. Alright guys, have a great one, and I'll catch you all again soon. 1968 CBI 1968, I found with the Spanish that if you try, they will more than often help you if you are struggling to communicate. They will, because if your Spanish is worse than their English, you're on a winner. Most people are helpful, even if they're awkward. I found that even with the medical people that were medical people on the reception were quite happy to tell people to go off and find a translator. They spoke to me in English because I started off in Spanish. So, alright guys, I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of the weekend. Have a great Sunday, and thanks for watching.